Are you too late on 151, Paldean Fates, and Paldean Evolved? Today we're going to be answering that question. First of all, let's just quickly recap for anyone who doesn't know. These sets have been going crazy lately. But because they're going out of rotation next year, that means that they're going out of print. So a bunch of people are jumping on it as soon as possible. So your problem is that back in the day, people would jump on it maybe a month before it goes out of rotation. Or maybe it wouldn't even sell out by the time it comes out of rotation, and you just have to wait for it to one day be sold out, right? But this time around, it's different. This time around, you have to buy months and months and months in advance to get it cheap. So first of all, let's just quickly get this out of the way. This is a good prime example of why I say don't wait for reprints. If it's a set that's a couple years old, it's not worth waiting for a reprint. If it's prismatic and it just came out the gate, different story. But with this, you don't want to wait for reprints. You want to just buy it as soon as possible, especially in this market now when anything can happen. Now, first of all, I'm going to quickly answer the question. I don't want to waste the time, and I don't want you to have to watch this whole video guessing. So first of all, I'm just going to say, yes, you should still buy them. And the reason why is because they haven't gone out of rotation. Yes, there's a little bit of hype for them right now, especially the fact that them going out of rotation wasn't really brought up until like the last couple of weeks. Most people, like I made a couple videos about it like a couple months ago that was going out of print next year, but a lot of people didn't really know what that was. A surprising amount of people were saying like, what does that actually mean, right? But once everybody has kind of gone to grip that 151 is almost over. Paldean Fates is almost over. Everything has been skyrocketing. Zapdos, which is the best artwork of 151 in my opinion, is going crazy. That card as a PSA 10 has near doubled from its 60-year low. The Blastoise has near doubled from its 60-day low. The Charizard is just going on a complete run-up. But that's nothing compared to Paldean Fates. Paldean Fates, as we know, is going absolutely bonkers. The Charizard is selling for almost $1,000 as a PSA 10 USD. That's 1,500 AUD. That is ridiculous. But then you've got the main Bubble Mew, the one everybody wants. It is about $2,000 as a PSA 10 USD. Now, I don't want to say that I told you so, but I really do hope that you listen to my advice. For the last couple months, I've not been able to shut up about these sets, specifically 151 and Paldean Fates. Now, a lot of people were confident in 151, but I actually sided more to Paldean Fates. I would constantly talk about the Bubble Mew and how good the artworks look. We can see how Paldean Fates is taking off. In fact, it's overtaken 151. Now, me personally, I want to be completely transparent on this channel. I didn't actually think it was going to overtake 151. I didn't see that coming, and maybe this is just a short-term pump, and then like in the long run, 151 just simply goes up more. But I didn't see that coming. But I definitely saw both of them doing amazing. And I've talked about it in a million of my videos. Because these two sets specifically are just such good buys. Now, Paldean Evolved has been seeing some pretty good action as well lately. And I do like Paldean Evolved to an okay extent. But it's got nothing on these two sets. And we can just see the strength in them. So generally, you want to look at the PSA 10 price, because when you've got a boost pack that's $100, if the top chase inside is $300, but then as a PSA 10 it's like $5K, no one really goes, oh, you pulled a $300 card. People more of go, oh, well, if it gets a 10, that's a 5K card, right? So the culture has really shifted towards the PSA 10 value molding the value of the sealed product. It used to be the raw price, now it's PSA 10 value, right? Like when was the last time you saw someone buying a raw Umbreon VMAX? It's just non-existent. You buy 10, you buy an 8, you buy a 9, but you're not buying raw. No one really buys raws these days. Most people just grade or they keep it in their binder, but you don't really see many posts about it here and there. Most of the interest you see gouged is generally the PSA 10 or PSA 9. So if we look at 151, we can see there are so many cards absolutely taking off as PSA 10s. They're doing absolutely phenomenal, and I think this is really healthy for 151 because 151 doesn't really have a massive hit inside. Now, I will say one thing. The chase inside of 151 is actually slightly more expensive as a PSA 10 than the Charizard in Hidden Fates. So what that means is we can look at Hidden Fates being like $30 to $40 a booster pack. We can see all the success that set has had, and then we can kind of grasp that onto 151, right? If Hidden Fates is like $40 a pack, 40 times 60 is 24, so that's $240 a bundle. But you've got to add like a 40 to 50% premium being a booster bundle. So that means booster bundles, if they match Hidden Fates gains, it could be a $300 to $350 bundle within, what, 3 years? That means you're averaging almost like 110% per year, which is pretty fair. I think if you're averaging 100% per year with Pokemon, that's a pretty conservative number. Now, of course, there's different things such as liquidating and things that make it more difficult. You can't just press, obviously, sell on a screen and then it sells it. But I think averaging 100% is a pretty reasonable goal to look at. Now, with this current market, we are outperforming 100%, like completely. Like we're doing 100% almost every single month. But the difference is that stuff goes up really fast and goes down really fast. Like if we use the Greninja Gold Star, that has near halved in price from its all-time high. I think it has bounced back again, but it went up, and then when it went down, I mean, Lucario, V-Star, that card has tanked after it went up. So it went up like 1,000%, but if you bought at the top, you're down like 80 or 90% on your money. It has gone down a lot. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, am I too late? My simple answer is just no. The reason is, if I think that you're going to back away from buying these at this price, I would assume that you're new to the hobby, and there's nothing wrong with that. But me being pretty seasoned in this hobby, I just want to bring up how I could have bought a team up box for $2,000, and for the longest time, I procrastinated buying it, and then when it hit 2.2k, so it went up $200, I thought I missed out on the opportunity. I thought I was done. Not even 2 years later, that's like a $10,000 booster box. So if you're having the mentality that you're too late, that's just not true. So my advice to you is, if you want to buy post, put your foot in the door, tell people you're after this set, and people will sell it to you. There are people constantly buying and selling. Just because we all know it's going to go up doesn't mean people are going to hold it. Some people have bills to pay. Some people want to take profit. So, you know, some people aren't as hardcore as some of the viewers watching this, or probably most of us, where we're just planning to hold this for years on end. So you just want to find those people, especially scalpers. My advice is to build a good relationship with scalpers. For stuff like 151 bundles and Paldean Fates, dude, you can't get that in stores anymore. They're not really printing that stuff. I mean, they might do more ways. I pray that they do another wave of Paldean Fates. If so, that'll be freaking sweet. But if they don't, say they don't, and this is it, which would absolutely suck, but say this is it, right? You really want to build a good relationship with scalpers where they hunt the products for you if you don't really have the time for it, and then you just buy it off them. But then usually they'll give you like 20% off if you're a loyal customer, because they can just instant sell it to you. So like Paldean Fates, market was like, what, $60? Well, you could have gotten that for $50. Now those Paldean Fates bundles, dude, they're like $110. And it displays, dude, you could have I bought one of these Paldean Fates displays for, I think, $400. Oh no, it was $200. It was like $250 or something like that. Now that's like an $1,100 display. And dude, if you are under invested on the position, don't be worried about buying up more at a higher price. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I want to be perfectly transparent. I had a couple displays that I bought, one for like $400, then like one for $600, and then one for like $900. But you know, there's nothing wrong with buying in all these different ranges, right? If you can only buy one or two at one point, and then you can afford more later when it's more expensive, just go for it. Like, bundles is a great example. I had, I think, like 10 loose bundles, but I wasn't really happy with that position, but I got a really good price on them. I paid like $40 each, or not even. I think I paid like $30 each or something. Like tons of other bundles here, I think I paid like 65 to 70. There's nothing wrong with buying that. I'm probably going to keep buying Paldean Fates. I'm actually spewing because there was an Amazon job that had them for like 85 to 90 bucks, man. I'm spewing I didn't get that. That actually sucks. So 151 Paldean Fates are not finished now, okay? You see that the market moving only starts when the set is actually done. If it's still in rotation, it's limited by the rumors of reprints, right? If Pokemon made a press release tomorrow saying that 151 and Paldean Fates will never get reprinted again, I can confidently tell you they would double within a month. So what that tells us in April, when it's out of print and it's finished, then that means that it'll probably double within a month or two. It'll just go up. And you know what? Because so many people know that, a lot of people are buying it now. But the thing is, there's always going to be people buying it later. There's always going to be people ripping it. There's always going to be people chasing the bubble mew. So what's naturally going to happen is, it's gone up now, but then it's just going to go up again. So instead of only going up, like having one massive run up maybe once every 6 months, what it's doing is it's already started one run up now, and then it'll do another run up in a couple months, and then another run up in a couple months. Anticipation for something usually outperforms its expectations. Usually, if everyone is speculating that a card will go up, usually what happens is it goes up before the selected date. So let's just say people are saying that this Gardevoir is going to go up when Mega Evolutions comes out. What's actually going to happen is it's actually going to go up before then, and it'll probably go down after. So we can see the same thing with Destined Rise. You see how the Dark Charizard as a PSA 10 actually peaked, and then it dropped from its all-time high before the set even came out, before Destined Rise even came out. So the whole idea was that people are really high for Destined Rivals. Destined Rivals is going to come out, and people are going to look back at older sets, and they're going to enjoy the old sets after revisiting Destined Rivals. But what happens is, because so many people are thinking that, what actually happens is that once the set's already come out, all the hype for the old stuff is gone, and it just shifts onto the new stuff. So this Gardevoir, for example, right? If you're buying this now, you're way too late. Like, you are way too late. You're going to see virtually no gains. I've exited a lot of my Megas. I've listed this Gardevoir, and I want to sell it. I don't really see it going up when the Mega Evolution set comes out, because once again, it's speculation. When it comes out, everybody's expecting that this Gardevoir will go up, but because everybody's expecting, what'll happen is it'll actually go up before. So with Paldean Fates, what I think is going to happen, and 151, what I think is going to happen is that they're going to keep going up slowly but surely in the next 8 months, right? I think it's going to keep going up. They're going to keep shooting up. But what I think is going to happen this time versus other times when stuff sells out and goes out of rotation, I think what's going to happen with this is I think that instead of it just shooting up one day, I think it'll just be all of those gains spread out within like 6 months. And the reason is because people didn't know when it would sell out on Pokemon Center. Like Fusion Strike is a great example. It went out of rotation and it was still available. You could still buy it on Pokemon Center and you could still buy some stores. So what happened was after it went out of rotation, it was like, all right, it's out of print, that's it, but we don't know when it's going to sell on Pokemon Center. So what people did was they just waited, and then when it sold out, it jumped about 50% overnight. It was something like that, like 30 to 50%. Now, what I find interesting about this is I think instead of Paldean Fates jumping up like 50% overnight, I think what will happen is it'll just do that, but within like a month. But instead of being 50%, it'll be like 100 or 200%. So you got to think right now, we're in September, like whatever, it's like August 29th, but we're pretty much in September, right? If we're in September, that means we're in the 9th month. We've got 3 more months in this year. Now, according to some investing bros and according to a lot of people in this hobby, they were saying that the hype for Pokemon would have already been dead by now and it would have already cooled off, or we'd start seeing signs of it cooling off. No, we're not seeing any signs of it cooling off. It is not slowing down in the slightest. There are still cards doing extremely well. Everything is doing extremely well. Realistically, the only sign I can really see of things cooling off is ponchos. And by the way, if anyone has any PSA 10 ponchos for sale, let me know. I'd probably be interested in grabbing one up. But the only thing I can really see a drawback is that gold stars are still breaking all-time highs every single sale. It's new highs every single sale. Everything is doing really, really well, except for like very selected stuff. So what that tells us is instead of the market is pulling back, like if you looked at ponchos, you would think, oh my goodness, the market is doing terrible. But that money is just shifting into gold stars or tag teams or alt arts. So what's happening is the market is just moving around. But you know what's going to happen? Eventually the market is going to move around, but then it's going to sit on 151 and Paldean Fates. Those are the two best sets of the sets that are going out of rotation next year. So when you've got such a guaranteed obvious play like that, everybody swarms to it. The Gold Star Greninja is a great example. When the Gold Star Greninja started going up, which I think it's bounced back from its 30-day low, but when the Greninja Gold Star went up, what happened was people realized that it's a Gold Star and it might do really, really well, so they bought it up. But the reason why people bought it up is because they almost like saw safety in the card, right? It's like we're investing in Thai cards or German cards or something that was like a little bit speculative. It was more of just like, oh, this is another gold star, this naturally is going to go up, right? Like it was almost like seen as a safe play. So I think what's going to happen is the same thing is going to happen with 151, but the difference is that it's not going to be as like market manipulated where it's just going to go up in one day. It's just going to be slowly but surely, which is really, really healthy. If we can see slow, steady gains, that'll be great. If we see like a 300% run up in a month, I'm probably going to be pretty worried. Having a 300% run up is pretty bad, especially if there's a 300% run up from now in like a month. That would be really, really bad. Dude, honestly, if you're asking if it's too late, I can confidently tell you, no, it's not too late. Would I buy at these prices? Absolutely. Buying at these prices is the equivalent of buying Fusion Strike for $200 a booster box. We could see a massive run up. We could see hype building up for it. But dude, that box is now like $900, right? So you're going to do really, really well if you buy Paldean Fates in 151, especially the fact that people aren't really noticing that they're going up. Like, of course, people are noticing that Paldean Fates is, but a lot of people are calling market manipulation on it, right? Which is just complete bullshit. That makes no sense. How can it be market manipulation? The cards inside are amazing. They're naturally going up. It's been slowly ticking up for a while. It got a ton of reprints, so it tanked. Now it's going up. It's bouncing back, going out of print next year. It's not market manipulation, right? But what I think is happening now is a lot of people are calling market manipulation. But as the months go by, as the prices pan out, as people notice that it's not market manipulation. If we use the Jazzy illustration rate as an example, you can see it went up and then it went down. Very obvious market manipulation. This will not go up and then shoot right back down. It may go up and then maybe it'll retrace by like 10-15%, but it will just naturally then go up again, right? So what I think is going to happen is I think that's going to happen and people are going to call market manipulation, say like, nah, this is going up too much, it's market manipulation. And I think what's going to happen is after a couple months of it holding its price, going up a little bit or going down a little bit, but relatively holding its price, I think people will see that and then they'll realize maybe this isn't market manipulation and the people will jump in last second. Because most people in this industry are very speculative. When a card goes up by 100%, like, I don't know, let's just say this Chinese Latias goes up by like 100%, let's just use this as an example, people will just immediately call market manipulation. People will just say, nah, like, it's not real, like, they're not validating it. But the only way to prove if it's market manipulation or not is by looking at how the price acts after the boom. Because how the price acts, you can look at that and acknowledge if it's human nature, selling and buying, or if it's market manipulation. If you see an instant drawback by 50 to 90%, it was probably market manipulation. But if you see it slowly trickling down, going up and down, and overall just like pretty steady, that's probably not market manipulation. So what's going to happen is after 6 months of it just like relatively being stagnant or going up a little bit, going down a little bit, a bunch of people will swarm in because they'll realize that they're not going to get it cheaper, right? I think with Sword and Shield, people really like Sword and Shield, like 100%, like obviously everyone loves Sword and Shield, but once people realize that, there's no guarantee the next era will be really good, and we know how good Sword and Shield was. I think people really got a grip on that. Once things start to move up, that's where it really kicked off. Sword and Shield did not move for years. It was so dead. It did not move. Once there was some activity and life in the charts, that's when it really took off, and it hasn't stopped ever since. And the reason is because that brings confidence. When confidence is brought, a whole new amount of buying power is brought into the market, and the buying power naturally means stores want them, naturally means reprint shippers want them, naturally means customers want them, naturally means the cards go up, and then you have this whole ecosystem of people just drooling for these cards, right? And that's what we've seen with Sword and Shield, that's what we've seen with Sun and Moon. We're going to see the same thing with Scarlet and Violet, but what's really funny is once these two sets, 151 and Paldean Fates, just absolutely shoot up, then people are going to buy up all the other Scarlet and Violet. People are going to buy up Surging Sparks, Destined Rails, Black Bolt, White Flare, everything. They're going to buy it all up. And the reason why is because they are not going to miss out the same that they missed out on 151 and Paldean Fates. So 151 and Paldean Fates are going to be the Black Swan event where people are going to talk about in 5 years' time, where if you bought it in 2025, and if you sold it in 2030, then you would be making this much money, right? Because I think Surging Sparks, I think it's going to do really, really well. But at the same time, the first to do it always goes up more. Paldean Fates and Scarlet and Violet, they're the first sets in Scarlet and Violet that are going to absolutely have a run-up. So we haven't really seen many, I just want to close on this, we haven't really seen many eras where the first couple sets are actually really, really good. If you look at Sword and Shield, you've got Base, Rebel Clash, Darkness Blaze, Vivid Voltage. Those are really, really bad sets. With Scarlet and Violet, you've got 151 and Paldean Fates as the earlier sets, and those are already the two best sets in Scarlet and Violet, in my opinion. I think Destined Rails is a strong third, and then Prismatic is a strong fourth. It's not that Prismatic and Destined Rails are worse, it's just that 151 and Paldean Fates are just so damn good. So what I think is going to happen is, I think this is a Black Swan event where the first sets in the era are going to do so well, but that's so rare. Like, we haven't really ever seen that before, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But long story short, I think it's going to go up, like, a lot, because this is such a random Black Swan event, and Black Swan events is generally where people make a lot of money. 151 is a great example. The amount of new people in the hobby that say the same bullshit. They buy Prismatic ETBs, speculating they'll do the same thing as 151. I have to tell them time and time again, I was there when 151 came out. I bought 40 Elite Trainer boxes for like $60 each, like $50 each. I can confidently tell you there are like probably 5% of the supply of 151 ETBs on release as Prismatic. Like, the amount of Prismatic ETBs there are, I don't even think there were 150,000 151 ETBs even printed. And that was like one print wave of Prismatic, right? Like, the little amount of 151 ETBs printed was just ridiculous. It was like it was virtually nothing. Most stores sold out once they sold like 50. But once they sold out, they couldn't really get more. So it was in this weird limbo state where like people were waiting for a reprint, but then the people who kind of like bet that there wasn't going to be a reprint won. But then what people are doing now with Prismatic is Prismatic ETBs, they're going to do amazing, sure, but they're not going to do what 151 did in the same time period. Maybe within 2 time period, like maybe instead of being like 2 years, maybe it'll take 4 years from its release. Maybe, I don't really think so, but I guess it could, who knows, but definitely not within 2 years. So what I think is going to happen is, I think the same thing is going to happen with Paldean Fates and 151. People are going to look at that and they're going to go, oh my goodness, 151 and Paldean Fates bundles have gone up by this much. Oh, do you guys think Destined Rails can do the same thing? Do you guys think Prismatic can do the same thing? And people will look at that and go, maybe, but at the same time, now everybody's familiar into Destined Rails and Prismatic, which means that Pokemon is printing more and more of it, which means there's a higher supply of it, which means when there's less interest in the hobby, now there's a large supply. Same thing happened with Shining Fates. I'm not saying the same thing will happen with this, but you can see sort of patterns where like one goes up, people FOMO into the next thing because the original item is too expensive, and then the new item struggles to go up because there was so much buying pressure, intending it would go up, so those people bought it purely to resell. But the Pokemon looked at that and went, oh my goodness, we have so many fans in this hobby, we need to double our printers. And then they double their printers, and then as collectors kind of lose interest after like a year or two of being in the hobby, then all this product is sat on, whether it goes at MSRP, under MSRP, over MSRP, whatever, that doesn't really matter, and it's irrelevant. The point is that this is going to be the first to go up, and then everybody will FOMO into the new stuff. My advice would be buy it all, but just focus on Paldean Fates, and we're on 151 now. You are not too late. You're not going to be too late for like years on end, so keep buying it up.